Hey Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, how different was this offseason for you versus pre 2020 when, you used to show up all the time? Did you like this, the kind of flexibility of coming and going as you please?
Yeah, it was great for me. My wife had our second baby at the end of March, so we were right in the heart of that. But it was good. I worked out at the facility actually for a few weeks into the off season, and then found a few other places to work out. We've been a little bit back and forth, but it just gives you flexibility. You're not here for 4 hours or 6 hours. You can work out for 2 hours, get your stuff done, get in and out. A lot of options. I think the main argument is just you have the ability to choose to do what you want. If you feel like your best bet is to come in and participate in the OTAs, and that's what you kind of get to do. And if you have something come up, a doctor's appointment or something with your family, you have that right to, stay home and kind of figure that stuff out. But for me personally, it was great. I got to spend time with my family, and once you get into the season, it's such a grind that you want to cherish those moments when you get that opportunity.
Gotcha. Hey, congrats on the baby.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. We'll go to Daryl Ryder next.
Hey, Joel. Good to see you. Just with this going into the season, all the expectations that you guys are dealing with, just from your perspective, the Super Bowl talk, or the expectation you'll go deep into the playoffs. How tough do you think it's going to be for you to deal with those type of expectations, or playing with that so-called target on your back, because you're not going to sneak up on anyone this year?
Yeah, I like having expectations. It means you have the potential to, be a good team, and that's really all it means, though, is potential. You have players here, but we have to go out and execute. And I think, starting from the top with Andrew Berry and Coach Stefanski, they put us on the right path already. We understand that it takes work. Nothing's going to be handed to you in this league, and from day one of the virtual meetings, this offseason, it's been about work. How can we improve the things that we need to improve on as a team, and to get better on to make it to the Super Bowl. And that's everybody's goal in this league. But for expectations are just really talk for us. It's something that we start off on, but we're working. We want to be the best we can, and we just want to give ourselves an opportunity to play as long as we can this year.
And Kevin's talked about last year doesn't matter now. You don't get to pick up where you left off a year ago. But for you guys as a group on the offensive line, and just really how well you played last year, honestly, you guys want to pick up where you left off last year. So I guess my question is, how do you do that? How do you pick up where you left off and, not have any drop off or lose a step or whatever as an offensive line?
Yeah, we like we said, we thought we played well, but we've evaluated ourselves. Coach Callahan, Coach Peters, Coach Stefanski, we've came up with individual plans on how we can improve ourselves this offseason. And then as a group, with communication, Jed's going into his second year. A lot of O-linemen take a big step from year 1 to 2. And then all of us are in the same system for the first time in a long time. In my career, I've only had that a couple times, maybe once. And so for me to have the same offense again is big. You have an understanding of the plays and what we want to do, and now we're just really fine tuning things and coming together in that sense.
Thanks, Daryl. We'll go to Zach Jackson.
Hey, Joel, you just mentioned the dozen or so coaching changes you've been through. So you don't have one this year. Can you give us a specific example of how that helps you and maybe makes things easier for everybody when you guys get on the field?
Yeah. So when you get a new coach, like the schedule, everything, the schedule of practice, the schedule of the day, the offense, terminology, the cadence, like literally everything that can be different has the potential to be different. So you're learning everything from step one. A lot of the stuff is the same, but it's different terminology, where here we go out and we're running. We have the same playbook. We go over a brief install because you have time in the off season, but it's all plays that you've ran. There might be a little tweak or so here, but you're all just, it's like riding a bike. You're just getting back on it and, figuring out how it's riding right now. But, you can change everything in an off season if you have a new coach, but with us, we're just kind of picking off and trying to improve the things that we need to work on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. We'll go to Tom Withers.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Joel, good to see you. You cleaned up nicely.
Oh, thank you. I've got a couple haircuts, since the end of the season, so it's worked out okay.
Hey, so President Treader yesterday was talking about how nice this has been as a veteran on his body, and how those OTAs could and just all the stuff you guys have to do in the off season really takes its toll. Do you hope this is the new off season, Joel, that going forward, that not only will you guys have more of a choice about the voluntary OTAs, and then kind of have a little bit less on your plate in terms of the off season? And
Yeah. From my perspective, I don't know how it's gonna, go in the future and stuff like that. From like a big picture look at things, like if you think about a season, let's say you end in February, that's everybody's goal, right? And you have to come back mid-April. So you're looking at maybe 2 months off, but you show up to OTAs, you're supposed to be in good shape because you got to be able to run, you got to be able to do things. So how many weeks off are you really giving your body, to get to that point? And then you do the 9 weeks or 10-week program, and then you have another 6-week break where you're supposed to get some time off, but you have to be in shape for training camp. So all these things kind of lead to a process, in the old days, or where we're accustomed to, of you're just training to be ready at all times. But if you can get a training regimen where you can peak in August, going into September, I think that's the best way. So I think there is a way where we can still have off season, where we can either push it back or move it around, where it's almost more of a ramp up period into the season instead of these segmented breaks where it's kind of hard to really give your body a true break. So, from my perspective, I do like the voluntary part, but I do think there's an answer out there of let's look at the science, let's look at the data. Like, should we be trying to peak in April and then trying to peak again in, September, or is there a way to ramp that up where you don't have to peak and do the voluntary stuff? And I think we've learned too that virtual meetings and virtual things can be beneficial as well too.
And I can sneak one quick one in about Baker. Did he prove to you guys last year as teammates, Joel, that he is the guy going forward? Not that you necessarily had many doubts about it, but that performance last year, did he show that he should be the long-term guy here?
Yeah, I think so. Since he's been here, I've always thought very highly of him. He's always been a great teammate to me, and what he's shown on the football field, the positives far outweigh the negatives. And I think you just continue to take those steps and continue to improve. And, this is a big year for us and a big year for him, but I know he's looking forward to it, and that's kind of what he lives for, those big moments. So we're getting ready to roll.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you, Tom. Nate Orrick, go ahead.
Hey, Joel, congratulations. Tom kind of set me up here nicely because that was on my mind. I wanted to ask you about Baker. You've gone through a contract extension. Obviously, a lot of attention on Baker being a starting quarterback, and everybody, in the media looking at, what's going to happen with him and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. It's a long way leading up to what I should just ask you flat out. And it's, how do you think Baker will handle all this? What is it about your personality about his personality that you think will help him through it? Yeah.
I think he understands that the number one goal is playing football, because if you play football well, like, everything else is going to kind of take care of itself. And I think his agent, and I'm sure his group of people that are supporting him are telling him that, you just play good football, and the other stuff will take care of itself. But he has the right mindset. I mean, he looks like he's in great shape. He's throwing the ball well. He has a grasp with the offense. Like, all those things are just positive. So I think he has the right mindset. He hasn't even mentioned a contract extension to anybody in the building, I don't think, like, player-wise. So I think he's focused on what he needs to worry about and kind of let the rest take care of itself.
Thanks, Joel. Hey, one other quick one, just with all the new guys on defense. I mean, what goes through your mind when you're seeing Jadeveon Clowney, Takk McKinley, on a D line already, obviously highlighted by Myles Garrett?
Yeah, no, it was fun. We didn't go too crazy full speed because we're not in full pads, but just seeing the group of guys out there kind of moving around, and the athletes we have over there. I mean, Clowney and Myles are, a pretty good tandem just to look at. But you got Takk and Porter and then Malik and Billings on the inside. Like, you have a lot of players that, I've experienced in this league that they're great players and kind of great athletes. But no, it's cool. It'll be some good battles in training camp.
Thanks, Nate. Next up is Aditi Kinkawala.
Hey, Joel, you were very nicely specific about having the same coaching staff. So if you can similarly somehow be specific, what's different about working with your coaches in person this spring? What's a benefit to being around them in person as opposed to what you had to do virtually? Is there anything new that you're learning about them at this point?
Yeah, just being, it was kind of crazy because you walk in the building for the first time and, if you're vaccinated, you see people without masks on for coaches kind of the first time ever, they've been wearing masks and stuff. So you see that. So that was one thing, seeing everybody's faces and getting used to people. But no, besides that, when you are in person, you have the ability to, see how someone's moving or be coached up differently than, we sent videos in virtually and did things like that. But when you're in person, it's a little bit more hands-on. You get that practice time and you kind of build a little bit of relationship of, this guy's personality a little bit more, because you go into it last year and it's all Zoom and you don't really have that time to chat and joke around in the meeting room. And those are some of the, coolest things about football is, eating around the lunch table, being in the meeting rooms, those type of things. So you kind of get to know guys on a different level from that perspective.
So having said that, it somehow worked for you a year ago where you had this new staff, you didn't know each other, and you were able to have this magical run. Is there something that needs to be bottled from there to bring to this year, or should expectations just be higher? How do we approach that?
Yeah, I think we've built on that, and I think that goes back to Coach Stefanski and the program he set up, the things he's built as a coach and put into place. I think those are still there. I still think we're bringing, that stuff we've brought, from the past year, but now we have a chance to grow from it. I think everything has that chance, but for us, it's a new coaching staff. We have never been in person with them all this time, so it'll give us a chance to grow. And I'm excited with the guys we have, the coaching staff in place, and now for us, it's hey, we got to work and we got to put in the time and see what happens during the season.
Thanks, Aditi. We have time for one more question. Dan Lobby, go ahead.
Hey, Joel. Nate mentioned the defensive line, and one of the things about all these guys is they can kind of line up anywhere. So I'm wondering, from your perspective as an offensive lineman, when you face a team that has 3 or 4 guys that can line up pretty much anywhere along the line, what sort of challenges does that present for you?
Oh, it's a big challenge. You hope the best guy doesn't line up over you. That's when they have 3 or 4 guys that are like that. No, it's a challenge, because they can move things. They can, shift the D line. You think you're Miles is going to be playing D, and that's where you want to double team him at. And then they move him inside to the 3 technique, and hopefully you're sliding that way, but you never know in offense. But when you're playing defensive end, you can get chipped from running backs, you can get chipped from tight ends and help that way. Where inside it's usually with a center or guard, but if the slide's going the other way, you might miss that. But then they can run stunts off of that stuff. They can do 3-man games. They have the ability to move around. And if you put 3 of your rushers on one side and leave Miles on the other side, are you going to slide to the 3-man side, or are you going to still double team Miles? There's a lot of options that can open up.